Okay, I'm going to walk you through designing your fashions in Photoshop. The first thing you're going to need to do is find a fashion figure template. So you're going to go to Fowler Classroom and open up Materials. It's easiest if you have this in column view because then you can click on the folder Fashion Figures and you can look through each one without having to open them. Just click on it once. I'm going to make this a little bigger so I can see them better. Now you're going to design clothing for two different figures, and I tried to get a variety of different ages and genders. I tried to find different body types. Some of them have faces and some of them don't. So if that's your preference, it's really about the clothes, but if that bothers you, you can choose models with faces. One thing the fashion industry often does is uses these very, very tall, slim figures that designers sketch on, which I don't like. It's not really a realistic way that people look. So I tried to find lots of different body types. It's a little difficult to find men too, but there's some men there. So there's like pregnant models, figures, children. Some are not totally realistic, but for the purpose of this, we'll use them. When you find a figure you want to design for, you're going to drag it onto the PS icon. So you can see some of these are Photoshop files, the PSD files. Some of them are JPEGs. If it's a JPEG or a PSD file, it'll open correctly if you just drag it down onto the Photoshop icon. So I'm going to drag this down to the blue PS. It'll open the figure in Photoshop. Then I'm going to start designing clothing on top of her. So this is very, very important. Make sure you first make a new layer. So this is the new layer button, or you can go to Layer, New Layer. This layer 1 is where all of the clothing needs to be. The clothing, the accessories, everything you design has to be on layer 1. Don't ever draw on your background. We'll get back to the background later, but just like on your cartoon project, you want to be drawing on layer 1 so that if you make a mistake, you're not starting all over again. Zoom in close so you can really see what you're doing. So you can use the magnifying glass, you can use the key command, which is Command plus to zoom in, Command minus to zoom out. Then draw outlines of your clothing. So I'm going to go to the paintbrush tool. I'm going to choose black. We'll do a black outline to start and make the size pretty small. I'm going to stick with 4 pixels. The hardness should be 100% so it's not a fuzzy line. And then you're going to think about what kind of clothing idea you had sketched out. Use the guidelines that are here to think about how clothes fall on the body. I know if I wanted to do like maybe I'll do a sleeveless top. So it's going to come up and then this should be right down the center. This line is going to run down in the center of the figure's front. So that helps to guide you like some of these lines that are on here. If I were doing sleeves and they were going to be tight sleeves, I would trace right along the arms. If they're loose sleeves, then it might come out a little ways from the arm. So just think about, whether the sleeve is going to be tight or loose. Maybe I'll do like a open shoulder kind of dress. So it's got nothing on the shoulders, sleeves along here, and I'll stick with this like kind of wavy, baggy sleeve on this side. It's going to her elbows, and then it's like fitted on the underside. We'll have to draw a line differentiating from the torso and the arms. And then I'll think about how low the shirt is going to go. If it's going to go just to her natural waist, it would use that waistline. Oops. If you make a mistake, the nice thing is it's on layer 1, not the background, so I can easily erase that without starting over. If you're not sure where you've drawn and where you haven't drawn, you can use the eyeball visibility and turn off to see where you're at here. Okay, so I'm going to have the shirt go down to the lower waist. So I'm going to use this slide down here. And then it needs to go around her fingers so the fingers still look like they're on top. Follow along that line. So it's kind of fitted on the bottom. And then I'm going to hide this to make sure there's no gaps in the line. This one's okay because that's just still part of the sleeve. There's a little one here. I'm going to fill that in. If those gaps are not filled in, then your paint is going to flow all over your picture. Alright, now I can fill this in. So if I go to the paint bucket, I could choose foreground, which would be a solid color. I can choose pattern. You need to use at least one of your pattern designs that you designed in your fashion. So I'll stick with my strawberry pattern. There you go. Let's see what else there is. I'm going to scroll down and find my patterns that I designed. Then click to fill it in. There we go. Now I've got to do bottoms and accessories. So remember, as you're designing, you're going to outline first. So I'll go to my paintbrush, zoom in close. It's really tricky and difficult to draw when you're too far out. I'm going to trace around the hand so the hand still looks like it's on top of the clothes in front. And then I'm going to do like a asymmetrical skirt. So I'll have it be higher on this side and it's fitted to the body, so I'm going right along the line of her leg. And then it's going to come down like this. Same thing on this side. I'll have to go around the hand carefully, kind of carefully. And when I get back to where I started and it's an enclosed shape, I can fill it in. So I'll double check by hiding the background layer. Oh, I've got some gaps over here that I need to fix. So it looks like this line wasn't filled in. I'll check it again. Okay, that looks pretty good. Let me zoom out a little. And maybe I'll try a solid color this time. So I'm going to choose my color. Okay, use the paint bucket. Change this from pattern back to foreground and fill it in. If you wanted to try a gradient, you could also do a gradient. So the way a gradient would work, let me just do step backwards. You'd have to first select the area. So I'm going to use this magic wand tool. It might be under the quick selection tool. Actually, either of those would work. But the magic wand, if you click, it's going to select anything in that enclosed area. So it just selected the skirt area. Then I'm going to go to the gradient tool, choose the colors I want here. I like those. And then draw a line in the direction you want the gradient to go. And it'll fill it in. Deselect that. Now I can move on to shoes and accessories. Accessories could be anything. It could be purses, sunglasses, glasses, bags, you know, for men, backpacks, hats, cell phones. Let's see, for her, I think I'll try glasses. So I'm going to use the paintbrush. I'm going to choose black to do the outline. Maybe I'll do sunglasses. But you know, take your time with this. Make sure that you're drawing carefully. It's okay to start over if you make a mistake. And then maybe I'll try the gradient again. So I'm going to use the magic wand tool and select the inside areas. I'm going to go to gradient. Let's see. Do like some gradiated sunglasses and fill this in. All right, accessories could be jewelry. And then the toughest part is probably drawing shoes. Shoes are a little tricky. So you can copy and paste if you designed a pattern for shoes and you want to use those shoes. You could copy and paste them into this file. If you're drawing shoes, start with your black outline. This foot we're looking straight on, so I'm probably just going to see the very front of the shoe, so it's not going to show a lot. So maybe just something like that. Or you could do a boot, go higher up, fill it in with the paint bucket. Do the outline. This one we're seeing from the side, so we'll probably see more heel. And whatever kind of shoes you want. You don't have to do high heels. So not perfect, but good enough. All right, once you're finished with at least 2 accessories and your outfit and shoes, you can go to the background and start coloring in the background. So now I'm going to click here to the background. You can do skin tone. Remember, skin tone is easiest if you start with an orange and you look for a diagonal in here. So pick your color, use the paint bucket, fill this in. These lines, these guidelines, I don't need anymore, and they look a little weird, so I'm going to paint over those. So I'll use the paintbrush with that same color selected, make it a little bigger, and I can fill in these lines. Any lines, if they're covered with clothes, you don't need to worry about filling them in, but if they're these guidelines to the figure and they're showing, then you should get rid of them. Okay, some of the figure templates you might need to touch up a little bit, like this one kind of lost the nose and mouth, so if you want to go back to black and outline them a little bit better, it might be a good idea. These are all downloaded off the internet. They're not always like great quality, so if you need to blacken up the lines a little, you can do that. And honestly, this is really more about the clothes, so if there's issues with the model illustration, it's not that big of a deal. It's more about seeing what she's wearing. I'm going to use the eyedropper to select the skin tone again and fill this in. Okay, don't forget legs. And you can do a background color as well. I could do hair color if it wasn't filled in on some of the models. So choose a background color, fill that in, and I'm about done. All right, when I'm happy with how it looks, I'm gonna save it. And you can do something really wild. You could do like an avant-garde kind of haute couture, like crazy clothes like the link on CA Arts. It doesn't need to be like wearable clothes like this. But I'm going to call it my last name, Fashion 1, because you're going to do 2 total. Make sure the where is set to desktop. You can save it as a Photoshop file first, but we have to save a JPEG in order to upload it to Seesaw. So I'm going to save a JPEG. Oh, I already have one saved. I'm going to name it 3. I already have a couple saved. So you'll do 1 and 2. Quality can be higher maximum. And then once you've got 2, you can upload them onto Seesaw. Okay, so have fun. Can't wait to see what you make.